rock. I know I speak for every person here today that our hearts are broken for you, and that you can count not only on our thoughts and our prayers, but on our companionship, our friendship in these difficult days as we all try to figure out what it means to be in a world in which Sadie is no longer with us. It was important for Peyton to tell everyone that was gathered here today that the only thing that Sadie ever wanted, anytime, anywhere, was to gather people together. And to be able to enjoy friendship and peace and harmony. Because she was a little bit of a hippie as well. We all know what it felt like to be in her presence. The kind of energy that really existed in her from the very, very beginning. A kind of openness, a generosity, a kindness, a sense of joy and laughter, a willingness to break into dance at any moment, or sing Broadway tunes in the car with her mother while she was driving her crazy. But I think the thing that strikes me the most being here today is the image of her smile. And all of a sudden, something that was just an ordinary, everyday experience of being with her and laughing and enjoying her is all of a sudden a blessing that pours out upon each and every one of us. For that smile was contagious, and there are certain things that can never be taken away from us. And that is one of them. A smile that was about welcome, about healing, about love, about friendship, and about family. Why? Why? I'm certain that every single person here has asked that question continually for the past 6 days. And I'm sure that some of the older people like myself, in asking that question of why did this happen to this particular person who had a particular light and gift that all of you who know her well know is not an exaggeration or something kind that is being said about someone who has passed away, but the absolute truth of who she was as a human being. And for those of us who are older, the question of why is tainted with a little bit of, why not me, why her? And I know for myself, when I first found out, and I went down on my knees and began to pray, I asked God in a bargain if it wasn't too late to switch it out. And yet this is the reality of what we are asked to reckon ourselves with. For how many of us have woken up every day since she died, hoping and wishing and praying that it was a dream, that it wasn't true, that somehow this nightmare would end and we would wake up to something different. But in the midst of all of the sadness and the extreme anguish and pain of the loss of such a good friend, of a best friend, of a daughter, of a granddaughter, of a sibling, strangely, through those tears shines through moments of blessing and moments of inspiration as stories begin to emerge and tears turn into laughter, and laughter turns into a kind of hysteria. And I do believe in that moment when we are celebrating what it meant to be in her presence, that we are experiencing one of those realities that can never be taken away from us. Nothing can take the memories from us. Nothing can take the joy, the friendship, the celebrations away. But even more so, as I said to Patty as we came here this morning, she is closer than you think. The separation between heaven and earth is not as far away as you might think that it is. And in thinking about her life, and thinking about her gifts, I began to realize that so many of the things that she had as a human being were the very virtues that God tells us are important to Him. This is from Matthew's Gospel. Blessed are they who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who are mourning, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful. And this is where I really begin to see who she is shine through these words of Scripture. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. And she embodied so many of these virtues, and it goes back so far to that little framed picture of her with some of her values written on it that I hope some of you got to look at when you were coming up. And she cared when she was a small child about what was going on with the people in Haiti. It was important to her that human beings be treated with respect and that animals were held important as well. As she left big pink and red lipstick marks on her dog's head as she left the house. Sadly, there is no answer to the question why. And we all know that. But there is a question that we can engage with. And that's the question of what comes next. In what way are we going to be different because of this particularly luminous soul that brought so much joy into the world and so much generosity into our lives? Her friends were telling me yesterday that when there was an argument, she was always trying to bring people together. She wanted it to end. And she wanted there to be friendship. And I think that she would be smiling on you right now, seeing how you're clinging to one another. What comes next is what difference it makes for us to have known her, and that somehow our lives are called to be different because of that. For those of us that dedicate a large portion of our lives to the spiritual journey, we are not dwelling in some kind of fantasy or fiction that makes us feel better about things, but instead we're beginning to gain the eyes of heaven by each little prayer that we make, by each way that we turn ourselves over in trust to Jesus, not only when times are good, but in particular when times are challenging. And slowly but surely, through the consistency of prayer, what I mentioned earlier becomes a reality, where the space between heaven and earth becomes thinner. And those who have gone before us draw close to us always, creating pathways and opportunities for us to awaken in our lives and to focus on what actually matters. Or isn't it true that when you think of a young person who lost her life too young, that all of a sudden, many, if not most, if not all, of the things that you have been worried about snap into perspective? And you think, what the heck difference does that make? Why bother about that? And so in the middle of this tragedy, of this deep pain and anguish, is an invitation that comes from heaven because she opened that door. To commit ourselves to focusing on the things that actually matter. And to trying to let go of the pettiness and the smallness and the division and the anger that is tearing the world apart. For didn't she walk among us as a person who put into practice, without maybe even ever knowing she was, these virtues that we hear in the scriptures of mercy, of peacefulness, of being a peacemaker, of being a person of clean heart who knew what she valued and encouraged each and every one of us to be a little bit better in that particular way. The hard work of reckoning ourselves with the why can be accomplished by direct commitments in ourselves to what comes next. This is from the book of Revelation. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The former heaven and the former earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. I also saw the holy city, a new Jerusalem, coming down from heaven, from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Behold, God's dwelling is with the human race. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will always be with them as their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, or mourning, wailing, or pain. For the old order has passed away." This morning I had a moment where I went into her room and I just stood there and prayed to her that she would give me the words that she wanted spoken. And then I just started smiling as I looked around, because first of all, she would never have had it as clean as it was. Although I suspected under the bed was a whole other story. She had a style and a kind of artistic way of living in the world that actually defied or maybe even ignored the ordinary in the favor of things that were quite mystical, like stars and the moon And then I remembered when I was with Patty and Sadie a few weeks ago, Sadie's lizard had gotten out of her aquarium. She had it for a day. And she had left it open and it escaped. And I saw something on her face in that moment where I could see this deep concern for a lizard that I didn't really know she only knew for a day. But there was something that was so kind in the way she wanted to find it that even though Patty and I were busy trying to get out of the house, I ended up under the refrigerator with a flashlight and looking through the plants to find the lizard. Just a small example of the kind of person that she was, and that can never be taken away from us. Because it's actually the wrong tense. It's the type of person that she is. Listen to the people around you that are on the spiritual journey. Listen to the prayers who are around you, who know how to focus on the things that actually matter. And they will tell you that anyone who you love as much as we have loved Sadie is not only not so far away from you, but is sending you and I simple little messages in the ordinary things of our everyday life if we have the eyes to see them unfold in front of us. And it's a hard thing to say because I know that we would trade any of those messages just to have her back with us right here and right now. But as we reckon ourselves with what actually happened and try to move forward with what comes next, let's make it our goal to listen more carefully to the things of heaven. Let's make it our focus to know how to move away from the things that distract us, so that we might be able to see that space between heaven and earth close up just a little bit more, and find that in death, and this is one of the strongest beliefs for Christians, life is changed, not ended. Can I just ask her friends to stand up? If you could just turn around and so Peyton asked me to say something important, and Patty also asked me to say something important. Please, be careful. Be careful. Recognize in this moment an opportunity for you to live with a little bit more purpose and to choose the life that she would choose for you moving forward. Not to go in a direction of abandonment, but to go in a direction of purpose. Where you not only care about the world and the people in Haiti and poor people and animals and people who are mistreated, but you care for yourself as a precious gift to this child who has been taken away from us. And I know I speak for every adult in this room, for your parents and for all of us, and especially for Patty. Be careful. Be careful. And be blessed. Thank you for standing up. It would be wrong to not end with joy, because this is who Sadie is, and who she will continue to be for you for the rest of your life. And I would encourage you, as you think about what those moments of her breaking through are those moments when you're together and you just can't stop laughing. It's like her tickling your sides. Or those moments when there's a fight and someone says, "What about Sadie?" And you decide that it's not going to be that way anymore. And you're going to let it go. What? Let it go?
No. What about Sadie?
We can become a little bit better out of difficult things. We now have an angel who resides in heaven. She didn't actually pick up that heart simply on her own. It was handed through perhaps many generations of women in your family. And I just know that on that morning, it was her grandmother who came and got her. Because they were the same heart. They were the same heart. And we have all been the beneficiaries of knowing people like that in our own lives. Let us live joyfully and purposefully and carefully. Let us remember how important it is to dye your hair blue every once in a while. Really awkward for a priest. But most of all, let us keep our eyes on the things of heaven. For it is in that she will live always at the center of our lives. That she will send us the blessings and the gifts. And that so we might be a little bit less afraid, knowing that one day, again, we will be greeted with a Broadway tune. And we will be reunited with her again. May God bless you all.